I've not looked forward to a day's fishing as much as I have done today for absolutely ages. If you could bottle this feeling, I don't think I'd ever think about packing up match fishing. A first trip to a brand new venue. This is St Albans Lakes. I've been told it's the place that dreams are made of. We're on the Spessy Lake. It's a Feedermasters qualifier. This place never gets fished, and we could catch anything today from a £2 bream up to a £90 catfish. Hence the big landing net set up. So no one really knows what's going to happen today. The lake's very calm. I've drew the middle of the lake. Peg 6 this is. Like I say, very rarely match fished, if ever. I've got, looking on the map, that I've had a chat with the guy in the tackle shop. Looking on the map, there's a bit of a bar that runs to my left hand side that's a little bit shallower. Hopefully a bit of gravel on there. So I'm going to chuck towards those 2 trees on the far side. Bait for the day. We're going specimen style. We've got 6mm pellets, some corn. They're the catter pellets. Corn. We're going method feeder, hybrid feeder today. We've got our hook baits, some wowsers. Got our micros in there. Mega simple. Let's have a look at the weapons. 2 rods for fishing method feeder, £6 mainline, £12 shockers. They're 11 footers. Like I said, we could be fishing for bream, we could be fishing for massive carp, so we've got rods there that hopefully will cope with them both. I'm only going to be fishing around 40 or 50 metres today, so we don't need mega heavy rods. We've got the Boscher feeder down there, can you see him? So the big feeder, we're going to put some bait in somewhere. We'll decide where that is as the session goes on. So we're going to fill that Boscher feeder up with corn and pellet, launch it out there, hopefully attract a load of fish, chuck over the top of it with our method feeder, and reel back 20 pounder after 20 pounder. Or we could just blank, who knows. Last match that was on here there was some blanks, but I think it was one with some big bream and a carp for £80. Got some good anglers today on the pegs. Steve Ringer, you probably can't see him, down there on the end, chucking to the banking along there and the point of that island. I think Graham West, who's organising it, reckons he's the man to beat, but it's a big old lake. You never know where the fish are going to come from. I think the far end down there could chuck up as well, because that's where the wind has been blowing. But I'm happy. We're going to enjoy the day no matter what happens. Wish me luck. Now the farm lake is about 110 metres wide, so we were told at the start not to fish past 55 metres. Obviously if we did fish further, we're impacting the angler on the other side. So I've got 2 lines. I've baited up at 45 metres with that corn and pellet mix. 6 feeder falls have gone in, nice big amount of bait, hopefully going to hold some big bream, maybe an odd big carp. And then I've sticked up at 52 metres, and that's where I'm going to have a first chuck just to see if any fish backed off the bait. I'm going to chuck out my hybrid feeder and just sit on it for 10 or 15 minutes just to see if I can get any indications. There was literally no indications for me or anyone else in the open water. To my right hand side, in the first hour or so, a couple of anglers have got 2 or 3 fish each. There's an island to cast to there, and I think a few fish held up in the trees up against the island. The fish seem to want to be in this cover away from any angling pressure. So it was thinking time. I've not had an indication on my feed, past my feed, anywhere in my swim. I needed to make a decision. Talking to a couple of bank runners, it seemed my best option might be to catch a couple of bream. Bream had been a big feature in the Wednesday match. I think the match had been won with £75. That was mainly 6 or 7 big bream. And I felt that maybe pellets and corn on a heavily pressured water wasn't the way to go. So I've totally scrapped my approach. I've gone at the bank, grabbed a handful of worms, grabbed my ground bait, and decided to fill that 45-metre line in with ground bait and worms with a view to attracting some bream, or just maybe get a bite from anything. I stripped the hybrid feed off one of the rods and decided to set up a paternoster rig, so I could use a cage feeder, standard bream style setup, a cage feeder running on the line with a 2-foot hook length. I was going to hair rig worms, 2 little bits of worm. That was going to be a bait that I felt would catch me anything that swims, from a carp, a big bream, maybe even just get some bites from some little skimmers. That was the plan. Now, even though I was fishing ground bait and worms now on that main line, I still wasn't getting any indications. I felt that by switching to those baits, I'd be able to attract just some small fish, maybe some perch or some little skimmers. But when the tip finally did go round, it was obvious this was no little fish. The bite was surprisingly small, a typical bream bite, the tip nodding away before I picked up into the fish. It was obvious though that it wasn't a bream. It kited to my right straight away, taking loads of line. I managed to get the line from outside the line clip and give the fish as much line as it needed. There was no way I was going to rush this fish. After all, I've sat biteless now for probably 2.5 hours. I needed to make sure I landed this fish. Fish on, yeah? Just for reference, I was pushing my luck with the tackle. I'd got 0.16 hook length, I'd got a size 14 hook. I was fishing for smaller fish, remember. I was fishing for skimmers or bream, thinking that they were my target species. So, playing a huge fish on such light tackle meant that it was a little bit nip and tuck all the way in. Luckily, I was using a really nice soft rod. I got a CTX Carp feeder rod, which is a really nice soft rod. Still able to cast the distance, but bends right the way through to the butt, which I think is really important when you're using smaller hooks and lighter line.
funny, isn't it? Like polarising between the two. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously everyone's open, doesn't it? What happens when you use a filter one versus like using a bulb one or whatever? Do you know what I mean? You go round. A lot of 20s in there, is there?
Yeah.
Is it? What's the big one? The chestnut? 34. He loves worms, he's got big six. Chestnut loves worms, he's got six.
Yeah. Funny thing is that. Like,
Sorry? Yeah, what do you look like? Figures?
like. Biggie.
I don't know what he's got, but he's massive.
Not made too bothered, to be honest.
The stewards on the bank for this event have been brilliant. Loads of people on the bank helping out with big nets and weighing in the big fish. Obviously, we don't want to put big carp in a keep net, so any big carp that we caught were weighed straight away. The two lads behind me did a great job. They weighed this fish, £29 7 ounce. That's a personal best for me. UK carp personal best. My biggest fish before this was a 24 pounder that I caught from Woodland's Thirst probably about 15 years ago in a big match up there. But to catch a fish nearly £30 on light match tackle, I think that's incredible.
Got a load? Yeah, there is a portrait as well, please. Yeah. Sorry, that's another one. Yeah, different way around. Yeah. Yeah.
That big fish got me excited, and it meant I had an extra special push to try and catch another couple. Unfortunately, the quiver tip stayed still. No more bites for the rest of the day. It looked like I wasn't going to qualify for the Feedermasters final on this attempt, but second place is catching the fish of a lifetime. UK personal best, caught it in a match, on match tackle. I drove back up the M1, super happy.